12:47 a.m. 52nd floor of Ward & Co. headquarters. The building was a glass lighthouse above Midtown, but inside it felt like an empty subway car after last call humming, HVAC, green exit signs, and one stubborn pool of light over Julian Ward's desk. He should have gone home. Instead, he was polishing tomorrow's board deck, growth with controlled risk, and nursing a dead espresso. Slides on guidance, a tidy page on culture of integrity, and a footnote he knew Elaine, the chair, would pounce on. He rubbed at his eyes, reached for the trackpad. A notification blinked on the secure workstation to his left. For the CEO only, via secure drop. Julian straightened. No one got to that inbox by accident. He slid the air-gapped laptop closer, logged into the hardened environment, and opened the message. No greeting, no signature. One short line. If you want to keep this company out of an SEC probe, open the folder. Don't forward. View or print only. Attached, _Orion, _consulting, _ledger.zip. He exhaled, the way you do before pulling a fire alarm, and clicked. The archive bloomed into neat subfolders. Invoices, wires contract.pdf, sao.docx, ledger_w12.xlsx. He opened invoices first. Professional PDFs for strategic advisory to Orion Partners, LLC, $250,000. $300,000, month after month. Same boilerplate deliverables, like someone had copy-pasted a thesaurus. Benchmarking, market sounding, value capture workshop, .wires/was worse. Money flowing from Ward & Co. to Orion, then out to thin air. Raven Bridge Holdings, Kestrel Advisory, names with all the weight of smoke. The dates lined up like a drumbeat, spread out small enough to dodge internal alerts. He scrolled to a scanned approval sheet and felt heat climb his neck. H. Carver, CFO, Harold Carver's signature. Blue ink, clean. Margin note, override procurement due to time sensitivity. Julian opened ledger _w12.xlsx and found the tab labeled Related Parties. There it was, Kestrel Advisory Manager, E. Carver, the CFO's younger brother. Another tab, Notes, contained a single line that made the base of his skull hum. Check IP logs. Weekend uploads. Finance floor printer hashtag F-19. If this was legit, it wasn't just bad optics. It was undisclosed related party transactions and potential fraud. The kind that puts a CEO in front of cameras, reading from a carefully drafted letter. Julian reached for his personal phone and typed to Asha Rowe, General Counsel. Need you on 52. No emails. Doors unlocked. On my way, came the encrypted reply. 1:23 a.m. Asha stepped in. Scarf still around her neck, eyes clear like she'd never learned to sleep. From the top, she said. He walked her through it. The invoices, the wire chains, the override sheet, the shell companies, the brother with the convenient last name. Asha didn't gasp or curse. She just followed the breadcrumbs, head tilted, asking the minimum. Source. Anonymous. Secure drop. She nodded once. Then here's the order of operations. 1. Preserve evidence, hash everything. Lock chain of custody, freeze logs. 2. Parallel investigation, accountants engaged under my NDA, not the company's. No involvement from finance or procurement. 3. Clean room access only. You, me, the forensic lead, and one trusted data engineer. CFO is walled off. He'll smell it, Julian said. Then he can bark from the other side of the wall, Asha replied. She tapped the related parties tab. If E. Carver is truly family, this is not a policy issue. It's the kind of thing the SEC and, God forbid, Doge wake up for. The clock on the wall ticked too loudly. 10 minutes ago, Julian had been rehearsing a line about integrity as a competitive advantage. The word felt heavier now, the kind that could anchor or drown you. Asha, he said. I'm aware some CEOs sit on this till after earnings, pray it doesn't leak, then discover it in a controlled way. Some do, she said evenly, and some get to explain that choice under oath. He didn't hesitate. We don't bury it. Truth first, then the stock price. And we protect the source. No one gets sacrificed for doing the right thing for the first time. Something in her face softened a small recognition. Then at 7A.M, we stand up a parallel team. I'll handle legal. You prep Elaine for 2 questions she'll demand. How bad is it, and when do we disclose? Julian almost smiled. Elaine always asks the kind that hurt. Asha slid her phone back into her pocket. One more thing note, mentioned printer F19. I'll get facilities logs through a side door. Also, our source knows the calendar. That's rare. Keep them anonymous. I'll push a hardened channel back through secure drop so they never have to show their face. Across town in a studio apartment near 14th Street, Mia Tran sat in front of a battered Chromebook, pizza box untouched beside her. The glow from the screen cut a pale line across her cheekbones. The secure drop window pulsed. Would you like to add a note? Her fingers hovered. They will push a fast-track board consent Friday to launder the paper trail. Check the template. Legal pre-cleared box is pre-ticked. Do not trust CFO's metrics, they're shaved. She stared at what she'd typed. Fear and relief fought in her chest. She hit send, then leaned back to listen to the sound of her own heartbeat over distant traffic. 3:02 a.m. Julian capped a marker and stared at the whiteboard like it might blink. Preserve evidence. Hash plus custody. OSHA forensic. External. Preliminary clean room. CEOGC. Forensic lead. 1 data. No CFO. No procurement. Brief Elaine. Risk plus remedy. Path protect source. Anonymous channel only. He snapped a photo, filed it in a locked folder, and looked at his reflection in the window. A man tugging the rug out from under his own feet and trying not to fall. The secure laptop pinged again. A new upload. A screenshot of a workflow, approval chain, consulting spend. $300,000 override by H. Carver. Weekend authorization. Timestamps. Sunday 3:04 to 3:27 a.m. Printer F19. The pulse at his temple tapped in time with the numbers. He texted Asha, 7 o'clock. We start. Then he shut off the lights. On the dark glass, the word he hadn't written down still hung in his head, blunt as a vow. Truth or nothing. 7:42 a.m. 27th floor. The internal audit bullpen felt like a library after closing quiet over air-conditioned, fluorescent hum. Mia Tran set down a paper cup of coffee, slid her personal phone into airplane mode, taped the webcam on her work laptop, and killed Bluetooth, habit, insurance. She opened her inbox. New calendar invite, board, consent, fast-track, procurement, draft. 7:31 a.m. Creator. Procurement on behalf of CFO H. Carver. Her stomach tightened. Exactly what she'd warned about 4 hours ago. A discreet window popped up on a second scrubbed machine. An old Chromebook she booted off a Tails USB in case I'd ever got curious. It was the hardened chat link Usher had pushed back through secure drop no names. No titles, .northstar. Temp handle for the source is Iris. Public library or clean device only. No job details. We are North. All meeting times end with 07. Mia Rizadiped with steady fingers. Board consent draft just appeared. Includes override due to time sensitivity. Pacing like they want it. Friday. Northstar received. Verify. Does printer hashtag F-19 still carry physical logs from the weekend? Yes. Consulting invoice $300,000. Printed Sunday 3/12/3/27. Finance. Door badge 304. System user HCAR VER-ADM Northstar hash captured. Stay dark. No corporate Wi-Fi. Dead drop instructions to follow. Mia closed the lid on instinct and took a breath. When she looked up, she noticed a detail that hadn't been wrong yesterday. The hallway camera outside. Audit was rotated a few degrees off center, just enough to miss the door. Her mouth went dry. Morning, Jenny from accounts payable chirped, poking her head in. Weird night. Our printer jammed when I got in. Anyone pull overtime? Mia smiled back like she hadn't just been swimming through gasoline. No idea, she said, hands tucked under the desk to hide the chill in her palms. By 8:15, a Slack thread lit up. Hashtag procurement, RFP waiver. Orion, the message was clean. Corporate and impersonal due to time sensitivity. Proceeding under expedited process. Questions through finance. A minute later, CFO Carver added a stern line about reputation and operational cadence. The kind of phrasing that slid guilt onto the reader and he'd off himself. Mia put on headphones and reopened. The ledger she knew better than some of her own. Friends' birthdays. On related parties, Carver pulsed like a warning buoy. She traced flows with her finger on the screen ward and co. Gives Orion, gives shell number 1, gives shell number 2. Each hop neat enough to look tidy, messy enough to hide in noise. Before anxiety could outrun discipline. The hardened chat blinked again. Northstar. Dead drop, number 1, 16th Street Public Library. Stack 332. Leave, redacted print of approval chain. Handwritten note, version B. Time window 12:07, if followed. Abandon and switch to number 2. Mia swallowed. Printed a version of the approval chain with names replaced by symbols. Leaving visible only override by H. Carver. Weekend authorization with times. She slid the sheet into a plain manila envelope, tucked the envelope inside a beat-up magazine, and logged out. In the hall, the camera was still crooked. Near the elevator, a man in a cobalt polo crouched over a toolbox, profile turned just enough that Mia couldn't see his face. Could have been facilities. Could have been anyone. The elevator dinged open. She stepped in and let the doors cut the question in half. 12:05 p.m., 16th Street Public Library. The place smelled like waxed wood and old paper. It calmed her, the way rituals do. Read the call numbers, find 332, slide the envelope behind a hardcover. Leave a corner tab peeking out that tell Northstar had specified. At 12:07, she angled away, drifted past the children's section, and took a slow lap to check for a tail. A guy in a baseball cap scrolled on his phone near the stacks. Reading, recording. She didn't flinch, didn't speed up. She left at 1:14. The chat pinged. North Star, picked up, #good. Iris, confirm. Is legal pre-cleared pre-ticked on the fast-track template? Yes, legal step skipped. Checkbox shows pre-cleared without record. North Star, screenshot. Audit log risk. Can paste text change history. North Star, enough. We'll build the timeline. Mia checked the time. She hadn't eaten. The hunger sat behind her ribs anyway, crowded out by the feeling of being watched through a keyhole she couldn't find. 3:02 p.m. Small conference on 52. Asha set her phone down. Dead drop was clean. We now have the override chain, weekend printer logs, and the procurement thread, she said, voice even. Forensics is booked for tonight. Clean room servers moved to legals, custard AGC only admin. Julian capped a marker and added a new line to the whiteboard. Temporarily stripped finance admin rights. He looked up, and the source. Asha shook her head. She's inside. She understands process and how to avoid footprints. Rare. One other thing, the hallway camera outside audit is rotated. I'll have facilities fix it, but not through any channel Carver can see. Also, I want bait in the board consent. Something that flags if anyone edits the log. Do it, Julian said. His phone buzzed. Elaine Park, brief at 7:30 p.m, no surprises. He almost laughed. Nothing but, he thought. 5:41 p.m, audit. Mia returned to her desk. A yellow post-it sat on her keyboard, the handwriting round and friendly. Don't work weekends, it's bad for you. Next to it lay a sleeve of mints. She scanned the room. No one looked up. The chat popped again, like it had been watching her face. North Star, if you feel eyes, stop anything non-essential. Will activate internal whistleblower protections and put legal between you and finance. No one-on-ones with finance staff. If IT asks for your machine, say, my schedule's blocked at 7. Mia swiveled toward the glass. The hallway camera had been straightened. It didn't make the phantom glance go away. She folded the post-it, slid it into her wallet. Evidence or kindness or both, she couldn't tell. She reopened Tails. The cursor blinked in the void. Patient Iris, ready for dead drop number 2 when you are, North Star. Not today. Rest. We'll move the board consent off CFO's runway before sunrise. Mia let her eyes close for one beat. The tightness in her shoulders gave an inch. Her personal phone vibrated in the drawer, single, silenced buzz she almost missed. She checked it, out of habit, more than permission. Unknown, no caller ID. Unusual login attempt on your corporate account via internal VPN. If this wasn't you, change all keys immediately. Her mouth went dry. She typed with shaking hands. Iris, someone just tried to log in as me from inside. North Star. Then we accelerate. Rotate credentials now. And Iris don't go to 27 alone after 7 p.m. Mia stared at the glass door. At the now straight camera. At the empty corridor that felt anything but. She reset her keys, closed her eyes, and repeated the question she'd typed into her notes the day she started this. Why did you begin? Because the truth was the only thing she could live with. Because silence was a debt that never stopped collecting interest. She opened her eyes and went back to work. By 7:30 a.m., Legal's clean room was live in a windowless conference room 2 doors from Asha Rao's office. Blinds drawn. Quarantined. Switch. A paper on the door. Conference repair. Do not enter so dull. No one would look twice. Inside, a 4-person unit formed. Usher ran point, sleeves rolled. Naomi Park, senior data engineer with Orcam, unpacked a Pelican case, hardened laptop, write blockers, Faraday pouch. Caleb Monroe, external forensic accountant with a slow Texas cadence and faster hands, mounted a mirrored copy of Finance's file server, now under legal's custody. Julian Ward took the whiteboard. 2 lanes, Julian said. Lane A, facts we can disclose. Lane B, controls we lock before anyone knows we're here. We're racing the clock, and a man who knows where the cameras are. Naomi nodded. I'll instrument the board consent template with a deterministic checksum on the legal pre-cleared field. Any touch triggers a silent alert to this room. I'll also seed a harmless comment. Double-check line spacing so there's something to click. Do it, Usher said. Caleb, I want a 3-point anchor. Printer F19 logs, badge access, approval metadata. Tie Orion invoices to wire times. I need a chain a jury can read. Julian capped the marker. We brief Elaine at 7:30 p.m. 15 minutes. No adjectives. Options only. By mid-morning, Lane A started to breathe. Caleb stacked findings like he was plating orders. Identical monthly SOW language. Weekend overrides. Wires from Ward gives, Orion gives shells, with no payroll, no phones, ghost websites. He tapped a row. Same IP block, prints the approval and pushes the wire. That's workflow, not coincidence. Across the table, Naomi pushed back her chair. Beacons in. Watching board consent _V3. Alert only to us. Usher's mouth tilted. Bait set with typography. My favorite sin. Julian's phone buzzed. Elaine Park Keep, brief 2:15. Bring options. He typed back, understood, and swallowed the urge to add anything human. Down on 27, Mia Tran wore normal-like armor. She cleared audit tickets, answered a vendor complaint, nodded through a stand-up that felt rehearsed. At 10:11, a ticket hit her inbox. It's security random device check. Bring laptop to Kunth, to 7B at 10:30. Sender looked legit. Timing felt wrong. The hardened chat fluttered North Star. Ignore IT ticket. Not authorized. Iris, my manager was CCD, North Star, if pressed, per general counsel. No hardware handoff, without GC present. Will cover. Mia forwarded the ticket to legal with 7 words. Timing overlaps audit deadlines. 2 minutes later, reply. No device checks today. Decline. Copy legal on any follow-up. Gigachides. I 28. Her manager leaned over the divider. It needs your machine for a quick patch. Legal says no unaudited handoffs, Mia said. Steady. They'll coordinate. He blinked, retreated. The hallway camera, now perfectly centered, looked back with its blank glass eye. 11:52 a.m. Naomi's console blinked. Beacon. The room leaned in. Doc. Board consent _V3.docx field. Legal pre-cleared editor. Keller _EA subnet. FinWLANO2. Time. 11 hours, 51 minutes, and 37 seconds. Naomi's fingers tapped. Keller _EA. Resolves to Emma Keller, CFO's executive assistant. Caleb let out a low whistle. Good hands don't touch the brush. They hand it to someone else. 2 minutes later, another nibble, Comment double-check line, spacing resolved by no substance change, just a touch. Usher's eyes cooled. That's our fingerprint. Julian glanced at the wall clock. Log it. Don't move yet. At 2:03 p.m., the counterpunch landed. Company-wide memo from CFO Harold Carver. Maintaining process integrity. Polished corporate boilerplate. All investigations must route through finance and internal audit. Parallel inquiries create regulatory risk. Effective immediately, finance consolidates document control for procurement approvals. Deviations require CFO authorization. He's grabbing the wheel, Julian said. Asha was already typing. 2 minutes later, an email from General Counsel hit the same distro. Legal hold, preservation, and access controls. Citations, policy, case law. Effective immediately, legal assumes administrative custody of all Orion-related records. Preserve documents. No unilateral changes. Direct questions to legal. Naomi grinned. And that, class, is a countermand. Caleb slid a neat grid across the table. Invoice gives approval, gives wire. We're out of smoke. That's fire. At 5:05, Julian rehearsed alone in an empty office. 3 headings on an index card. Findings, exposure, path. Findings, copy-paste, consulting invoices. Weekend overrides. Related party, E. Carver. Beaconed pre-clear attempt by EA. CFO admin account, touching the dock. Exposure, undisclosed, related party transactions. Weak controls. Potential SEC inquiry. Reputational hit. Path. Parallel investigation under GC. Wall-off finance. Remedial controls. Voluntary disclosure after 72-hour forensic prelim or pre-earnings, if needed. He slid the card into his pocket. The elevator doors closed on a face that looked more tired than he allowed himself to be. 7:30 p.m. Small boardroom. Elaine in the center tile, directors in tidy squares. 15 minutes, she said. No adjectives. Julian delivered like a metronome. When he said E. Carver, Elaine's temple ticked. Beacon drew a muted swear from someone off camera. He ended on options, not outrage. What do you need? Elaine asked. Authority to wall off finance, Julian said. Cover for external forensics. Permission to suspend specific access without prior HR review. Provisional plan to self-disclose after the 72-hour report and the source. Elaine said. Protected, Asha answered. We won't burn them for speed. A small nod. You have it. Updates every 12 hours. If this leaks and I hear from anyone but you, we'll have a different conversation. Screens blinked dark. Asha exhaled. Lane A holds. Lane B2, Julian said. For now, on 27, Mia packed slowly. The floor had thinned to cleaning crews, and the stubborn few. Her phone buzzed. North Star, we moved the consent to legal custody. Beacon tagged 2 touches. The EA and Carver's admin. Good work. Go straight home. No detours. If stopped, call this number on speaker. Mia slipped the phone into her tote, pulled on her coat, and stepped into the corridor. The camera watched, centered and blank. The elevator chimed open. Harold Carver stood inside, tie loosened, smile gentle enough to chill. Evening, he said, casual as a neighbor at a mailbox. Heading down? Mia's thumb found her phone's edge. She stepped in. The doors slid shut. At floor 26, the car shuddered, then stopped. The panel flashed. Pause for security check. Carver's smile didn't move. Must be one of those random IT patches, he said lightly. While we wait, Ms. Mia looked at the ceiling camera, the red emergency button, and heard Usher's voice in her head. No one-on-ones with finance. She pressed emergency, lifted her phone, and spoke clearly each word, a key in a lock. General Counsel instructed me not to discuss or surrender devices without GC present. Connecting legal now. She hit call. The line rang once, twice. Legal Usher's voice came, cool as glass. Who's with you and why is that elevator stopped? Legal, Usher said, voice crisp over the speaker. Who's with you and why is that elevator stopped? Harold Carver, Mia replied, careful, steady. Panel reads pause for security check. Carver's mild smile didn't change. Connectivity glitch. Ms. Don't finish that sentence, Usher cut in. Mr. Carver, this line is General Counsel. Per legal hold, Ms. Tran is not to engage in unscheduled conversations with finance. Building security is en route. Do not impede her egress. A half-beat of silence. Then Carver's tone cooled by a degree. Always good to cooperate, Counsel, Usher muted. Another voice came faint on her end, Naomi. Facilities logs say the stop was manual from Security Console B. Credentials, Pheno VR, she typed. That's a finance override token, Usher. Security, this is General Counsel. Release Elevator 12 and preserve logs for legal custody. Copy, the radio squawked affirmative. The car shuddered, then eased downward. Mia watched the numbers descend like a countdown she hadn't chosen. In the lobby, 2 uniformed guards waited. One looked to Mia, the other to Carver. Ms. Tran, you're requested on 52, the guard said. Mr. Carver, we've been asked to accompany you to your office. His smile thinned. No need. Request comes from legal, the guard said, less politely. After a long second, Carver stepped away. Mia's knees loosened only when the elevator doors closed on his face. On 52, Naomi opened the conference room door. Blinds drawn. Quarantined, switch humming. Julian was there now, jacket off, tie loosened as CEO, dressed for a fight he'd rather not be in. Usher kept it clinical. We will not ask you to reveal anything identifying, she told Mia. We're logging this as source debrief by phone. Here are your next steps. Naomi slid a matte black laptop across the table. Fresh build. Use only on guest Wi-Fi or public networks. Email route is pre-configured to legal. Do not open corporate mail on it. Rotate every credential to Diocta VPN. Any shared secrets and turn on app-based MFA only. No, SMS. Caleb, the forensic accountant, lifted a folder. We'll need copies of your last 2 weeks' device check, tickets, and any calendar invites that touched procurement. You'll send via the secure channel we gave you. Mia nodded, looking from face to face and avoiding the one thing each of them silently offered. Gratitude felt like a promise she wasn't sure anyone could keep. Julian spoke last, voice low. You did the right thing. Our job is to make sure that matters. She didn't answer. Doing the right thing had already put her in an elevator with a man who could end her career. Usher walked her back to the door. 2 more things. If anyone asks for your device, you say, per legal hold. All hardware handoffs are through General Counsel. And Mia don't ride alone after 7. Call security or legal. We'll walk you to the garage. Mia slipped the new laptop into her tote and left without looking back. 10 minutes later, Carver came to Julian instead. He didn't knock, just filled the doorway, sleeves pressed, smile fixed. "Julian, I hear legal is ambitious this morning." "Legal is preserving evidence," Julian said. He kept his hands on the desk so they wouldn't curl. "Effective immediately. Finance admin tokens are suspended pending review. Document control for Orion-related materials is with General Counsel." Carver's eyes didn't blink. "You're overstepping. Finance owns process integrity. Parallel fishing expeditions create risk we cannot carry." "Legal owns legal risk," Julian replied, "and we are not fishing." Carver let the smile drain. "You're new enough to think you can do this without bleeding out in the press. I'm old enough to have seen otherwise." He tipped his head, courteous and venomous. "Be sure you know which enemies you're making." He left like a polite storm. No door slam, only the echo of warning. Julian exhaled, then texted Usher, "Please proceed with suspension of finance admin. Board brief unchanged." By early afternoon, the clean room was a factory. Caleb's mapping grid sharpened. Invoice gives approval, gives wire gives. Shell, Naomi's console showed the beacon. Board consent _V3 untouched since the morning nibble. Keller _EA and Carver ADM were the only fingerprints. Usher drafted a short, lethal memo. Temporary access suspension, finance administrative tokens, citing policy, case law, and a paragraph meant for HR that read like a scalpel at 3:17. Naomi frowned. "Someone's trying to purge printer logs on F19. Through what credential?" Usher asked. Naomi's fingers flew. "Service account tied to facilities." But the request originated from FINWLAN02. That's Finance's wireless subnet. Caleb didn't look up. "They're laundering through facilities." Usher picked up the phone. "Chief of Security, General Counsel, lock facilities, Consul B. I want every purge attempt mirrored to legal and a physical. Supervisor at the station 5 minutes ago." She hung up, then typed to Elaine. "Escalation, attempted log purge via facilities." Legal intervened. Elaine's reply was instant and surgical. "Proceed, document. I'll back suspension if needed." Julian stared at the time stamp and felt something tighten in his chest. Not fear, not quite. The sense that the ground under them was moving, and he had to place his weight precisely or disappear. At 5:40, Usher and Julian rehearsed the 15-minute board brief again. This time they added a fourth heading to the card. Interference, findings, copy-paste invoices, weekend overrides, Carver, EA and CFO admin touches, exposure, related party not, control failure, SEC risk, Bath parallel, forensics, wall of remedial controls, self-disclose after prelim. Interference, manual elevator stop with Finovar token, attempted log purge via facilities console from finance subnet. Facts only, Usher said. Facts only, Julian echoed, and wished facts were always enough. At 7:12, Mia locked her drawer, tugged on her coat, and checked the hallway camera out of reflex. Centered, watching, she pressed the elevator button and waited with 2 strangers and a janitor wheeling a cart that smelled faintly of lemon. Her phone buzzed. Security will meet you in the lobby." garage escort confirmed. Good work today. The doors opened onto a crowded car. Mia stepped in, grateful for body's witnesses, between her and any stop button. At the last second, a hand slid in to hold the doors. Emma Keller, the CFO's executive assistant, smiled the smile of someone born to smile on command. "Hey Mia," Emma said brightly, like they were sorority sisters. "Quick question, did you happen to see the latest consent draft?" Harold wanted to make sure legal didn't accidentally revert the formatting. "It keeps changing." Mia felt the heat of the car, the pressure of shoulders. She heard Usher's voice in her head. No one-on-ones with finance. Channel through legal. Per legal hold, she said evenly. Document questions go to general counsel. Emma's smile didn't flicker. "Of course. You know how these systems are, little hiccups. See you tomorrow." The doors closed. The car breathed and descended. Mia's hands unclenched one finger at a time. Upstairs, Naomi's console chimed one last time. "Beacon touch," she said, eyes narrowing. "Same field. Same subnet. Editor, Carver ADM." Usher's jaw set. "That's enough." She hit send on a prepared notice. Administrative access suspension, Harold Carver. CCing Elaine and HR. The subject line carried no drama. The action did. Julian looked at the clock, then at the whiteboard. Lane A, Lane B. Both still intact. For now, his phone buzzed with a new message from a blocked number. "You should have buried this." He stared at the words until they blurred. Then he deleted the text, turned back to the board deck, and underlined the last heading with a steady hand. Truth, then stock price. By mid-morning, the building throbbed with a rumor nobody could source, and everyone repeated. People didn't say Harold Carver had been suspended. They said his badge failed at a turnstile, his calendar vanished, it ghosted his laptop while he washed his hands. None of it was true, not exactly, but truth has never been rumor's job. In legal's clean room, Asha Rose slid a one-pager to Julian Ward. "HR will read this to Carver," she said. "It's a temporary suspension of administrative access, not employment. Pay and title unchanged pending the forensic prelim." The language was surgical. Every verb did only what it had to. Naomi Park glanced up from her console. Finance just sprouted a hidden folder misspelled reconciliation with a text file that says, "Whoever finds this owes me a drink." HC, she shrugged. Mock innocence. Caleb Monroe, the forensic accountant, didn't look amused. He tapped his mapping grid. Ward gives Orion, gives Raven, Bridge gives Kestrel. Raven's a P.O. box in Delaware. Kestrel's manager deeded to Evan Carver in Brooklyn. DMV match on the middle initial. The flow holds. Julian nodded once. Document, not dramatize. Across the building, Mia Tran tried to practice invisibility. She answered vendor emails, closed a petty audit ticket, and kept Slack minimized. Side-eye emojis made poor weather. On the hardened chat, North Star Legal's handle pinged. HR is reading terms. Expect noise. If anyone asks you to clarify process, forward to legal. She typed back, copy. Boring, she decided, was a goal. When Carver walked out of HR, he wore the expression of a man grading the room. In a hallway window's reflection, he dialed a reporter. "Off the record," he said mildly. "Rogue investigations. Shareholder risk. Documentation to follow." He hung up before the yes. Minutes later, a mid-tier business blog posted, "Whispers at Ward & Co. Internal witch hunt. Finance sidelined as parallel team runs amok. No names, plenty of appetite." The stock shaved a sliver. Julian told Usher, "We need a statement that says nothing. Corp comes obliged. Ward & Co. routinely reviews vendor relationships and does not comment on internal processes." The chart flattened. Naomi's console blinked. Beacon touch someone duplicated the consent as board consent _V3 final closing parenthesis .docx. With a capital F editor, Keller _EA, same finance subnet. Caleb snorted. Open a second door and hope the alarm's wired to the first. Usher's jaw tightened. Preserve it. We don't chase, we accumulate. Mia made it to lunch on a yogurt and nerves. Her manager asked, carefully neutral, if procurement could hear her perspective on fast-track templates. Per legal hold, all template questions go to General Counsel, she said, equally neutral. He nodded, like agreeing with gravity. A text hit her personal phone from a blocked number. I'm told you're conscientious. Conscientious people sometimes confuse compliance with loyalty. We should talk. She screenshotted, forwarded to Northstar. Block it, came the reply. If he approaches, hotline on speaker. Back upstairs, Naomi traced another set of fingerprints. That printer log purge attempt. Facilities console B shows a USB insert at 3:29 a.m. Sunday. Vid PID matches a common bootable stick. Security footage is grainy, but height and gait look like Emma Keller. Caleb lifted a brow. Assistant does the dirty work. Boss keeps the gloves clean. Usher didn't indulge it. We'll pull raw footage and enhance timelines consistent with badge and print logs. Julian rehearsed the 12-hour update with Usher. 4 headings on an index card. Findings copy-paste invoices. Weekend overrides. Related party eCarver. EA and CFO admin touches. Clone doc. Exposure undisclosed related party transactions. Control failure. SEC risk. Path forensics under GC. Wall-off finance. Remedial controls. Voluntary disclosure after 72-hour prelim. Interference manual elevator stop. Attempted printer log purge via facilities console from finance. Facts only, Usher said. Facts only, he echoed, wishing facts were always enough. Noise kept pressing at the edges. The blogger posted the generic legal hold notice no names, just enough to feed a second-day story. The stock dipped again. Julian briefed Elaine Park. The chair we're holding. Minor leak, likely for... We're not chasing press. Elaine said, do the work. When you have enough, we decide pre-earnings or after prelim. And Julian. Do not blink, I won't, he said. And for the length of the call, believed it. Mia finished the day with security walking. Her to the garager, courtesy that felt like a rope in floodwater. She exhaled behind the wheel, turned the key, and her headlights picked out a rectangle of paper taped to a concrete pillar at eye level. It was a print of a slack line she'd typed 2 weeks ago. Stripped of context and username, but unmistakably hers. The override checkbox makes me nauseous. Below, neat blue handwriting. It's a shame when nausea impairs judgment. She didn't tear it down. She took photos wide, tight edges of tape sent them to Northstar. Do not remove, came the immediate reply. Security is on the way. This is evidence. She set the phone on the hood, palms flat beside it, until her hands steadied. Then she said it aloud to the empty concrete so her voice would learn the shape. I'm not going to flinch. Upstairs. Naomi's console pinged again. Another beacon, she said. Same field. Editor, Carver ADM. Asha clicked send on a memo she'd drafted hours earlier. Administrative access suspension. Harold Carver, CC, Elaine, HR. No adjectives. Just a switch. Julian stood at the whiteboard, the index card warm in his pocket. The first principle he'd written on night one, truth, then stock price, was underlined twice now. He added a second line beneath it, the only amendment that felt worthy: protect the people who choose it. The preliminary forensic report landed like a brick. 32 pages, 3 exhibits, 0 adjectives. Caleb Monroe walked legal's clean room through the spine of it. Ward gives. Orion gives. Ravenbridge gives. Kestraland, the 3 pins that made the map undeniable. Weekend override signatures. Matching printer badge logs. And funds landing in an LLC managed by Evan Carver. Flows consistent across 12 months, Caleb said. Shells are thin. No payroll, no leases, no vendor history. It's not consulting. It's a siphon. Asha Rowe didn't look away. Chain of custody. Mirrored under GC control, he said. Hashes logged. Screenshots and raw ledgers preserved. We can hand this to the SEC tomorrow and keep a straight face. Naomi Park flicked to a slide. One more fingerprint. The legal pre-cleared box on the fast track, consent twice. Emma Keller's credentials do the edit. Carver ADM closes a dummy comment to create noise. Same finance subnet as the printer purge attempt. Julian Ward absorbed it the way a surgeon reviews scans. Wall finance all the way off Orion, Asha said, already writing. Interview Emma with counsel present. Interview Harold next recorded. Suspend both pending results. Move to voluntary self-disclosure after we brief the board. Julian nodded. Do it. In a small conference room, Emma Keller folded her hands tight enough to blanch the knuckles. A company lawyer sat beside her, Asha across from her. Naomi behind a laptop that hummed like an engine. Asha kept her voice level. We're not asking you to incriminate yourself. We're asking for facts. Did you alter the board consent template? Emma's eyes flicked to the table. Formatted it. Did you tick legal pre-cleared before legal reviewed it? A beat, then a whisper. Harold told me to make sure it didn't get stuck. Did you insert a USB into facilities console B to access printer logs on Sunday? Her silence lengthened. Naomi tapped a key. Stills appeared grainy, but legible enough to show height, gait, a partial profile. Emma's shoulders fell. He said we were fixing an administrative snag. If the paperwork kept moving, vendors got paid. I didn't think you did what you were told, Asha finished, not unkind. You'll be placed on leave while we complete the review. Cooperate and we'll reflect that. Emma nodded, a small, stunned motion. Harold Carver came in, smiling. He waved counsel. Insisted on it, nothing to hide. The recorder blinked red. Usher's questions were scalpel short. Invoices, overrides, related party disclosure, facilities, console access, Emma's edits. Orion's bona fide, he said smoothly. Market sounding is time sensitive. We expedited. Legal pre-clearance is standard. Pre-cleared by whom? Usher asked. He spread his hands. by practice, and Kestrel Advisory managed by your brother receiving funds from Orion. Harold's smile thinned. Unrelated. Evan does advisory work. Family members are not barred from earning a living. Are you saying Ward and CO paid your brother through a vendor you controlled and failed to disclose it? I'm saying your premise is flawed, he said, polite acid. You've built a conspiracy out of administrative shortcuts. You'll sink this company chasing phantoms. Naomi slid a highlight across the table, a bank record tying Orion disbursements to Kestrel and an internal email route approving the wire within minutes of a weekend. Override. Harold's eyes cooled. If you publish that without context, you'll trigger a regulatory circus. Our stock will tank. Who benefits then? Julian, silent until now, looked up. Not you. For the first time, Harold's gaze met his without varnish. Be certain you want my enemies to be yours. Usher ended the interview. You're on paid leave pending completion of the investigation. Your administrative access remains suspended. Surrender your badge to security on the way out. He stood, smoothed his tie. You've chosen drama over discipline, he said. Good luck with your headlines. They briefed Elaine Park and the board in a tight session. Findings, the flow, the fingerprints, the related party, exposure control, failure, undisclosed transactions, SEC risk, path, suspend CFO and EA, complete forensics, remedial controls, voluntary self-disclosure window, interference elevator stop, log purge attempt, authority granted, Elaine said. Suspend both. Lock controls. Prepare the SEC package. 12-hour updates. And Julian no theatrics. We're not heroes. We're custodians. Understood, Julian said. That night, the company's internal site posted a sterile paragraph. Finance leadership changes. There were no names. HR emails hit 2 inboxes with the words paid administrative leave. Security walked Harold to the bank of elevators, not through the lobby. Even so, the building knew the way buildings do. Mia read the notice at her desk and didn't feel relief so much as a loosening, like a knot that had decided to untie. A ping from Northstar followed. Thank you for preserving the garage note. It is now evidence. Continue standard routines. If approached, hotline on speaker. She typed back one word. Copy by morning. The clean room whiteboard held a new column. Remediation. Naomi led with practicals, procurement, resegregation of duties. Kill switches for weekend overrides. Audit trails exposed to legal by default. Caleb mapped clawback scenarios. Usher drafted a whistleblower policy that wasn't a PDF in a drawer, but a muscle. Anonymous channels with teeth. Retaliation triggers with timers and consequences. Julian added one line in his block print. Voluntary self-disclosure, 48 to 72 hours, window after final prelim. Beneath it, he wrote the only sentence he intended to say to the SEC. If it came to that, we found a failure. We took custody. We fixed it. Here is the record. He looked at the people around the table, exhausted, disciplined. Unfancying felt something like steadiness. Mia took the same elevator she always took, ate the same yogurt, answered the same questions about the same invoice that should never have been approved in the first place. The hallway cameras stared, centered. She let it. Boring was working. At lunch, she stepped out for air and found Julian by the revolving doors. No entourage, tie askew. He didn't thank her. He didn't say her name. He nodded like two people might nod on a subway platform. We're putting real protections in, he said. Quiet enough to be deniable. You were right. About the box. About all of it. Mia kept her face neutral, the way you do when the city stares back, then make it stick. That's the plan, he said, and let her go. By afternoon, the SEC cover letter was a draft on Usher's screen. Facts, exhibits, no flourishes. Legal would courier the package if they chose to file before earnings. Elaine would decide the timing once the final prelim hit, on the glass wall. Julian underlined 2 lines. Truth, then stock price. Protect the people who choose it. Outside, the city moved at its usual speed, which felt, for the first time in days, survivable. The final prelim landed at 6:41 a.m. No hedging, no adjectives. Caleb's cover memo fit in 3 lines, 12 months of patterned flow. Undisclosed related party. Interference attempts consistent with knowledge of controls. The exhibits were heavy enough to bend the binder rings. Usher skimmed, then shut it. We're ready, Julian nodded. 2 tracks. SEC package prepped for voluntary submission. Internal controls and culture. We do both, same day. Naomi pointed at the remediation column on the glass. Kill switch for weekend overrides is live. Legal visibility baked into procurement logs. Finance tokens remain cut. Whistleblower channel stood up with external hotline and a 24-hour response, SLA. Good, Asher said. Now we talk to the company before rumor talks to itself. The town hall was announced hours in advance. No agenda, no teaser. By noon, the auditorium filled like a weather map turning red. Engineers in hoodies, accountants in neat blues. People who had been avoiding each other stood shoulder to shoulder, not ready to admit they'd come to hear the same thing. Julian walked on stage in shirtsleeves, no deck. Usher and Naomi stood off to the side. A single line glowed on the screen behind him. Facts, actions, protections. We found a failure, he said, voice even. A vendor flow that routed money where it shouldn't go. The pattern ran for a year and touched a related party that was not disclosed. When we moved to protect the records, there were attempts to interfere. We took custody. We shut down the flow. 2 people are on leave, pending the outcome. A current moved through the room, shock, anger, relief in uneven bands. He didn't let it crest. Here's what happens next. 1. Legal is preparing a voluntary self-disclosure package for the SEC. 2. We've locked controls and will show our work. 3. We are publishing a whistleblower policy that is not a PDF in a drawer. It has teeth. Retaliation will be investigated and punished. 4. We will not litigate this on Slack. Questions go to legal. Rumors are noise. Facts are oxygen. He paused. If you stuck your neck out for the truth, you will not be left alone. He didn't look at Mia. She felt it anyway. A hand shot up. What about the stock? A sales lead asked, too blunt to be rude. We tell the truth, then we deal with the price, Julian said. That order doesn't change. Another voice, why should we trust you? This happened on your watch. Because I'm standing here telling you without spin, he said. Because we built a record the SEC can read. And because I can't fix what we won't face. Usher stepped forward for 5 minutes of steel. Legal hold reminders, hotline numbers, the policy's retaliation clause read aloud like a law. Naomi took 60 seconds to explain what the kill switch did in plain English. No one clapped. They didn't need to, after people filed out in a hush that felt like weather breaking at 2:15. The mid-tier blogger posted, "Again exclusive Ward & Co. Town Hall admits control failure," with 2 anonymous quotes that sounded invented. The stock dipped a point, then half recovered when Corpcoms released a 2-sentence statement mirroring Julian's words. "Hold your nerve," Elaine texted. "Holding," Julian replied, in a glass conference room. Emma Keller met with HR and legal to finalize her leave. She signed the form with careful, devastated script. "I didn't think," she said again, to no one in particular. "I thought I was helping my boss keep the trains running." Usher didn't soften the facts. She did soften the tone. "Cooperation matters," she said. "So does learning from it." When Emma left, Naomi exhaled. "One down, not down," Usher said, paused. "We'll let the process speak." The SEC package went into a banker's box and a secure upload. Chronology. Exhibits, hashes, the corrective plan. Usher read the opening line aloud one last time. Ward & Co. discovered and contained a control failure. "We present our record and remediation plan for your review," and clicked send on the digital copy while facilities walked the paper to a bonded courier. Julian stared at the confirmation like it might blink. "No going back," he said. "There wasn't yesterday," Usher replied. "Now it's just official." At the end of the day, Mia took the long route to the elevator, a habit born in a single trapped ride. The hallway camera was centered, indifferent. Security met her downstairs and walked her to the garage without fuss. A text from North Star. "Town Hall changed risk, calculus. If you want temporary relocation to another floor, we can arrange." "Your call, I'll stay," she typed. She surprised herself with how quickly she meant it. At her car, there were no notes, no blue ink. She sat behind the wheel and let the silence settle, heavier than fear and kinder. Night fell. The clean room kept its glow. Naomi's beacon console stayed quiet. Caleb drafted a clawback path in case the board asked for blood later. Usher set 12-hour update alarms that would wake her if the SEC replied. Julian rewrote the opening paragraph of the earnings script in his head, stripped of anything that sounded like PR. When he finally stepped into the corridor, his reflection in the window looked like a man who had traded ease for clarity. He could live with that. His phone buzzed. An unknown number. He didn't answer. A text followed. "You picked a pretty hill to die on." He stared at it until the letters looked like static, then forwarded the screenshot to Usher and dropped the phone into his pocket. Outside, the city moved at the same pace it always had, unaware of the small war inside a glass tower. Mia walked past the security desk in a straight line. Usher reread the first line of the disclosure until it felt like a promise. Naomi shut down a console that had not beeped in hours and smiled at the quiet. Caleb packed a binder into a case with a satisfying thunk. Julian turned off the lights in the clean room and, in the dark, said the order again like a prayer with 2 clauses and 1 consequence. Truth, then price. By market open, Ward & Co. had become a ticker with a story. The control failure town hall ran in a crawl on business TV. A screenshot of Julian under the word facts behind him like a caption no one trusted. The stock dipped at the bell, then steadied buyers and sellers discovering they were equally tired at 9:12 a.m. Usher received the thing she'd been waiting for. An acknowledgement email from the SEC. "We confirm receipt of your submission. Staff will follow up as appropriate." No temperature, no hint, just the institutional equivalent of a nod. "Clock's running," she told Julian in the clean room. "We keep doing the work." Naomi ticked through the remediation board. Kill switch tested. Weekend overrides require GC cosign. Procurement logs mirror to legal by default. Whistleblower hotline SLA visible to employees. "Good," Julian said. "Publish the controls publicly. People should see the gears." Elaine Park convened the board for a short call. "We need an acting CFO," she said. "Find someone boring and incorruptible." They appointed Margaret Lynn, the company controller, capable, unflashy, no hobbies besides closing the books. She walked into finance with a binder and the unhurried confidence of a person who enjoys reconciliations. When someone asked if the witch hunt was over, she said, "We're not hunting. We're counting," and kept walking. The temperature dropped 2 degrees. Midday. A push notification hit phones. Business Ledger ran a piece. "Ward & Co. says it found and fixed a problem. Can investors believe it?" It quoted an anonymous former executive predicting chaos. It also quoted the town hall line facts, actions, protections. The article ended by admitting the SEC acknowledgement meant nothing and everything. Julian skimmed it, then sent a single sentence to Corp Comes. "We will not litigate this in the press." He kept his attention on the board wall. Findings, exposure, path, interference, remediation, under-remediation. He added, "Acting CFO seated controls intact." Asha watched him write. "You're calmer when you have a list. I'm calmer when the list is shorter," he said. On the 27th floor, Mia lived small on purpose, answered audit tickets, ate at her desk, walked with company to the elevator. Nothing dramatic. Nothing alone. A message from North Star arrived like a post-it in her brain. Threat level lowered. Continue routine. "If you want a floor move, say so." "I'll stay," she replied. It surprised her how true it was. At 1:40 p.m., Margaret Lynn stopped by audit. She didn't ask for names or whispers. She asked for a copy of the control map and a seat at the next walkthrough. To Mia, she said, simply, "Thank you for taking the policy seriously." No wink, no signal. Just recognition that didn't put her on a stage when Margaret left. The room felt a fraction more normal. By late afternoon, the immediate frenzy had thinned into maintenance. Naomi's alert console stayed quiet. Caleb worked a clawback model that assumed nothing heroic. Recover what you can, document what you can't, show your math. Asha drafted a 2-page culture memo that avoided the word culture. It used verbs: preserve, report, escalate, protect. Julian rehearsed 1 paragraph for earnings in his head. We identified a control failure. We contained it. We strengthened our controls. And we voluntarily engaged with regulators. We remained focused on customers and execution. No chest beating, no apologies PR, just the spine. His phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. "Coffee. We can fix this together." Julian forwarded it to Asha and blocked the number. He added 1 more line to interference. Direct contact attempts, documented and blocked. At 5:03, as people funneled out, Mia's manager asked quietly, "You good?" It was not a test. It was an adult question. "I'm good," she said. "We're good." It felt like placing a marker on a map. In the lobby, security waved without escorting. She walked to the garage alone and didn't flinch at shadows because she had pictures and timestamps and a hotline that answered on the first ring. Her car started on the first try. Nothing fluttered on the concrete. She drove home through ordinary traffic and liked it more than she would have. Yesterday, that night, the clean room thinned. Naomi flipped the beacon dashboard to a muted mode. Caleb packed binders into a rolling case. Usher set alarms for midnight and 6. Julian stayed, reading the prelim one last time, not because he doubted it, but because repetition had become a way to inhabit the facts until they felt like furniture. Elaine called. "Tomorrow we stop talking about the problem and start talking about the business," she said. "Any surprises?" "None we caused," he said. "Good. Then do your job." He hung up and sat in the quiet until his reflection in the window looked like someone he could defend near midnight. Mia stood by her kitchen sink, city noise softened by distance. She washed a single glass, then left it to dry. She opened her personal email and found a message from North Star. Policy update posted. Hotline live. Retaliation clock starts on report, not discovery. You are covered either way. No fireworks. Just a rule that felt like a net properly strung. She typed back, "Thank you," then deleted it and sent nothing. Thank yous all for later. She sat on the edge of her bed and let the day arrive. She had not burned. The building had not collapsed. Truth had not made her invincible, but it had made her steady. In the morning, the stock would jiggle. Reporters would call. The sec might ask for more. The internal rumors would look for new oxygen and, finding less, would decide to talk about something else, for now. Inside a glass tower that had finally stopped reflecting only itself. A CEO slept a little, a lawyer set a second alarm. An engineer muted an alert that stayed quiet. And an auditor closed her eyes without counting printers. The list on the wall was still long. It was also, for the first time, livable. The morning of the earnings call, Ward & Co. felt like a set about to go live. Slides were short, bullets were verbs. Margaret Lenacting CFO, Cardigan and Comond the numbers. Usher owned the law. Julian owned the pause between them. At 8:13 a.m., Usher received a formal SEC request for information. Not an enforcement notice and ask. Additional logs, copies of approvals, names of remedial owners. Dates controls went live. Process, not punishment, she said, handing the letter to Julian. He nodded. We give them everything we promised. No drama. By noon, the town hall buzz had cooled into habit. Procurement was noisier, more checklists, more counter-signatures, but no one missed the old quiet. In finance, Margaret rewired duties with the efficiency of someone who enjoyed When an analyst murmured about witch hunts, she said, "We're closing the books," and that was that. 2 floors down, Mia lived small by design. No speeches, no colored capes, just audits and yogurt. When North Star Legal's channel, DMD HerSec has your note in the package. You remain protected. She felt steadier, not larger. A ping from Corp comes. Call starts in 8. They filed into the small auditorium. Margaret at the lectern. Julian at a table. Usher on the side with a thick binder that doubled as a statement. The first questions from analysts were standard revenue, churn, guidance. Margaret handled them like a surgeon handles stitches, precise, unhurried. Then came the one they knew would land. On the control failure, how should we think about regulatory exposure and reputational damage? Julian leaned to the mic. We identified a failure. We contained it. We strengthened controls. We voluntarily engaged regulators and have begun providing materials. We're focused on customers and execution. We won't comment beyond that while the process runs. A bold follow-up. Will your former CFO face criminal exposure? Asha spoke for the first time. We won't speculate about individuals, she said, voice all steel. What we can say is that our record is complete, our cooperation is ongoing, and our remedial work is measurable. The call ended without fireworks. The stock dipped, then drifted back, as if investors decided boredom was the best case. Headline by late afternoon. A story broke anyway. Former Ward & Co. Executive under review. Sources say thin on facts, fat on adjectives. Harold Carver's allies tried to feed it oxygen. It didn't take. Too many receipts lived in legal's vault. Too many new switches were now refusing old tricks. At dusk, Elaine Park called Julian. Good call. We look like adults. Boring wins, he said. Be boring for a month, she replied. Then be excellent again. The next day, security reviewed enhanced footage. Emma Keller had the shape of a person following orders and the fear of one realizing what those orders were. HR extended her leave, with cooperation noted. For Harold, a letter went out. Preserve all company material in your possession. Cease contact with employees. Counsel may correspond with legal. He responded through a lawyer. The building exhaled. Mia received a short email from Margaret. Thank you for taking policy seriously. No fanfare, just facts. She archived it like a receipt she might one day need. That evening, Julian stood at the revolving doors as people streamed out. He didn't look for Mia. He didn't need to. She was there, walking past with two colleagues, coat open to the cold, posture straight. He made the smallest nod a person can make and still mean it. She returned one the same size. No speeches, no medals, a new habit. A week later, the SEC requested a follow-up call to confirm remediation steps. Asha, Naomi, and Margaret walked through. Kill switches, mirrored logs, and whistleblower timing clocks. The staff attorney said thank you twice and we'll be in touch once. It wasn't absolution. It was the right kind of silence. Julian went back to product reviews and customer calls, layers of life. A crisis had briefly eclipsed. The whiteboard in the clean room stayed up, its 2 lines underlined, permanent as paint, truth, then stock price. Protect the people who choose it. No one erased them. They started building around them. Spring didn't arrive dramatically, it seeped. In lighter mornings, fewer coats left on the backs of chairs. A calendar where SEC gradually ceded space to launch. Margaret became CFO without acting. The board vote was unanimous and brief. Like a signature you've practiced until it feels like a name. Procurement's weekend overrides now required to Key's legal and finance end a reason written in sentences, not check marks. The whistleblower policy lived where employees actually lived, in Slack, as a pinned post, with a hotline that picked up on 2 rings and clocked retaliation like a heart monitor. Emma returned to a different desk and a narrower scope. She did her work quietly, eyes forward. When Mia passed her in the hall, Emma said nothing. Sometimes survival is to people not pressing on each other's bruises. Harold left the narrative. Then the city council in tow, reputation dented. Whether he landed somewhere else would be a question for people without receipts. The SEC never sent a press release. They rarely do. Instead, a letter arrived. Staff has reviewed your submission and notes the remedial actions taken. We may request additional information in the future. Please continue to preserve materials. No absolution, no punishment, just a conditional peace. The kind adults make when they've all seen enough. In a corner cafeteria, no one Instagrams. Julian and Mia found themselves in the same coffee line. No entourage, no one performing a moment. He gestured to the sugar packets. They moved the brown. They always move the brown, she said, deadpan. He smiled, then let it fade. Thank you for staying. I didn't stay for you, she said, not unkind. I know, he said. That's why it worked. She picked up her cup. Keep it working. That's the plan. They left in different directions, exactly as they should. Upstairs, someone deleted a stale folder from a shared drive and left a note. We archive what we need. We remove what we don't. ML, the initials were Margaret's. But the sentence belonged to the building, in a glass tower that had once reflected itself too perfectly. The story didn't end with a parade. It ended with a policy that outlived the crisis, a set of switches no one could flip alone, and a sentence written on a wall that everyone quietly adopted as a rule. Say the truth first. Protect the people who tell it. Then get back to work.